So we go all the way here, we add any common shares that came as a result of any additional issuance of common stock. So we add that. We make sure that we are referencing that with F4. Two times. So we can copy and paste for diluted weighted average shares using computation of earnings per share. Let's paste it as formulas. As you can see, we have that setup in place there. So we can fill this to the end of the projected period. So for the basic earnings per share and the diluted earnings per share is going to be equal to, we take the net earnings and we divide that by our weighted average shares using computation of earnings per share for both the basic and the diluted. We can copy that. Make sure that we are referencing to the net earnings with F4 two times so that we can copy that down. And just copy and paste as formulas to the end of the projected period. As you can see, we have that kicking in here. So we have that well structured. So we can move down to the balance sheet side of things, where we had here the common shares that should kick in or that should be reflected here as a result of those additions that we made. So in this case, as again, the way we did before, we take whatever the common shares were in the prior period and we add to that any additions to those common shares here. So we go down to the debt schedule and we grab the additions to we grab that and we grab the additions to the common shares. So we have that in place there. We can fill this right to the end of the projected period. It's Control R. So as you can see here, we have done everything up to this point. Now let us scroll down a little bit to see what we have done so far. The only thing that is left here under the financing section is to acquire account here for the proceeds from issuing equity. So in this case, it's just going to be equal to, let us go to the additions that were made by issuing equity capital. So we go to H295. So we go to that additions that were made by issuing equity capital if there were any funding shortfall. So any additions that were made are proceeds from issuing equity. So we grab that there. And we can fill this right to the end of the projected period. So as you can see, that was all that was left. And if we scroll up, we can see that we have a well-integrated model, 3 statements, financials, and we have a balancing balance sheet check, and we can be relatively happy with what we have done so far. So this is very, very exciting to do from scratch, And up to this point where we have a balance in balance sheet for Amazon, and now we are ready to perform valuation analysis for Amazon's equity value and enterprise value. So we're going to be doing that later on. So what we have done so far is really very good, and you can use this as a way of breaking into finance. This is very exciting, building a three-statement financial model from scratch, well structured, and some complex supporting schedules such as the finance leases and the operating leases. And we had also a simplified debt schedule. We also had a schedule for property, plant, and equipment, which we had all of those done, and then we had to come back to the financial statements and make sure that we integrated whatever we did from the supporting schedules, and we had a balancing balance sheet. And now we are ready to perform discounting cash flow analysis and other valuation methodologies we're going to be using to estimate the value of Amazon. So we're going to be doing that later on, and we are very excited to have done this up to this point. So it's very, very exciting to have done this to this point. As you can see, we have done everything perfectly. We are relatively happy with whatever we have done so far. So now we can move on to performing discounting cash flow analysis based on whatever we have done so far. So to begin, we will bring in